Welcome to the Queen of Positivity podcast, a super fun show centered around positivity and communication, with entrepreneurs from all over the world sharing their views on the subject, with your host, Kendra Fierce. Welcome to the Queen of Positivity podcast. Today's guest is videography extraordinaire and my friend, Jose Lacera. Welcome, Jose. It's so nice to have you. To our listeners, he is the founder of NoWayJose Productions. So, Jose, could you give me and our listeners a little bit more information about yourself as well as NoWayJose Productions?
So, yes, my name is Jose, and I'm a lifetime filmmaker. I do everything from, cinematography, editing, the, production, post-production, VFX, graphic design, motion graphics. I'm just all around in media production and marketing. So just in this digital space, just creating media content as I can. And I would say right now I'm producing a lot of work for cannabis companies.
Nice.
So it's been the space where I've been thriving right now. But yeah, I'm just right now scaling my company. Recently just acquired a studio space.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Yeah. And yeah, it's a really exciting times right now for sure.
That's good to hear considering everything that's going on, right? We haven't spoken actually in a quick minute. We've been so busy. So tell me what's new. What have you been up to with NoWayJose and anything else?
It's been a wild year or so, but because of events, I feel like my work has become more valued. Yeah, I feel like it's given my business actually a boost. So I've been investing a lot of money into new equipment for both video and audio production. And recently getting the studio space, and we've been doing renos for feels like a week straight. And yeah, right now we're just getting everything in here. Actually today, because of the podcast, I had to get the audio equipment and everything set up. But yeah, there's still so much expansion to be done and big projects in the works. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, that's amazing. Honestly, renovations are super fun. And I guess we kind of sped up your project a little bit with the podcast. So that's awesome. I don't want to talk about the pandemic too much, and I know we touched on it a little bit, but can you explain to our listeners, we have listeners all over the world, how the lockdown has affected the videography industry in Alberta and perhaps yourself?
Yeah, I feel because everything has to be digital now, businesses really see that you have to have a presence online. It's more important now more than ever. And people that can actually, produce good content are more valued. And you're a big, like you've been talking about the TikTok thing. People don't have anything else to do except make videos on their house or watch videos. Or either doing one or the other, and I feel like. And
I mean, I'm sure people are doing other things than that. People are still working.
I feel like it's just expedited things. People were already watching a lot of YouTube. People were already consuming long form content. And this lockdown has forced a lot of people to get more creative and step outside their comfort zone.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Going back to being in Alberta though, what were the restrictions for videography exactly? Do you know?
Not really.
Just no work?
No, I had work. Actually, I had a steady job for the majority of 2020. So while most people, I don't know what most people were doing, to be honest, I just had steady work. Nothing really changed for me. But once I decided to actually quit that and go on to my own, I found I was making just as much money. So,
are you allowed to film in person though? How do you do videography? You're on the list?
Yeah. So yes, you can do photography, photographers / video people. You can bookings.
Okay.
So and things are just so muddled. Things change seem to change weekly, and I haven't been doing a lot right now. Like, and that's the thing. I just have a network around me right now that I just almost have everyone that I need around me, and I don't need to do too much networking, because that is the hard part when you're coming up as an entrepreneur, doing the networking, putting in, like, getting some kind of recognition out there.
That's so true. We actually met at a networking event, to be honest, and I think that event helped both of us fairly well. But yeah, so commercial, I didn't know the exact rules, but yeah, so commercial and videography and photography, I believe, was able to continue for most of the time. It just depended on whether you had clients available, right?
Exactly. So, and I just felt like I was fortunate during that time that I did have something steady, and it was in an industry that didn't get shut down.
Yeah.
And actually, because even within that industry, people were still shutting down their businesses, even though they didn't have to, or cutting hours or doing these things. So I just happened to be living or like working in a place where like they didn't care about any of that, and just like actually ramped up their hours and started putting, like, doing more. And in fact, being around that inspired me to just keep doing more. Like I didn't think, damn, I'm just gonna wait around, or I'm gonna even in the start of this year, I didn't have like that much work, but I don't know if you noticed, but I just started putting out these vlogs.
Yeah.
Right away, and just doing that has gotten me more work.
Definitely. Yeah.
And people are tuned in, and it's just about putting stuff out there, because if you're not, how are people going to know what you can produce and what you can do? So even if you're doing it from home and you're posting it online or whatever, like that's what the world is nowadays.
It's easy to stay on top of it. Like, it's easy to put yourself out there now.
And you have to. You can just go to networking events like you could, or
no, you can't anymore. No, the pandemic definitely,
like everything, and you can't be knocking on doors.
You can't do anything.
Before you had no excuse. You're like, I can literally just go knock on people's doors and offer them my business. Mm-hmm. It was a free world out there. But now,
it was a free world out there.
It's a free world. Now I'm envious of those days where you could just go terrorize people.
But I do like to think of it though, that because again, my network is pretty much all entrepreneurs at this point. Mm-hmm. And so I just keep thinking, like, all of us just keep pushing through this. It's almost been a year of us dealing with this. And just think, by the time it is done, our businesses are just going to be skyrocketing, like, because we've pushed through and sold. And when it's absolute hardest, when has it been harder? When has it been harder to run a business?
Exactly. And that's why
I don't know. I don't know very much about history. Maybe the Great Depression. I don't know. But like, it's tricky now. So, I mean, obviously some digital companies that, Amazon and those big guys really paid off for this. But us little guys had to push to really make it through. But we're doing it. So what tips would you give other videographers to keep positive during these times?
Yeah, like I was saying, you got to keep creating. I saw you had like even your podcast with Rubik's, and I was listening to that. And what he was saying, that was bang on. Like, literally just start honing in on your craft. You have all this time to stay at home, dial it in, and keep on creating stuff however way you can. And that's what I did. I just, we can't do events or gatherings or anything anymore. Okay, let me go out with my buddy and we're going to go out to the middle of nowhere and go ice fishing.
Yes, I saw the videos. It was incredible.
And now I've made like 3 ice fishing. That's not even really my thing. This is like a Rob's thing, but it's so much fun. And we're just going out there and just doing something. Getting that practice in was so crucial, and it's allowed me to step up my game even when I don't have as much work or I'm not as busy.
Yeah.
And I've been keeping doing that. And even with the studio and the rentals, it's just keeping me busy. And in this audio stuff. Now I want to polish up my audio game and the streaming and like all this stuff. It's during 2020 was like when that really started for me. Like, I just realized, wow, I have all this time, all these resources, and there's so little excuse not to try and learn it for yourself.
That's crazy good mindset.
Yeah. And nowadays, I feel like you almost need to be like a Renaissance man. You need to be able to be multifaceted in your skills. I'm sorry, but you need to do just more. I don't like, there's a lot of people that are just like, just edit but they don't actually shoot. They limit themselves that way, or like, we'll just shoot this, but they won't do any of the audio, or they don't know how to, man, because it's such a complex work and there's so many facets to it. But nowadays you need to get in every aspect. You need to know what you're doing. You can't just know video. If you can also provide marketing for people, marketing solutions, packages, and provide other things, now people are just going to buy more stuff from you. Yeah, because you just have more to offer people. They're not going to go anywhere else if you can just offer everything to them.
Exactly. That's kind of what I did with Fierce Fire, right? Because I initially started with videography and it really kicked off for us. But I was working with bands and fitness places. So all of those closed down for me. But I was like, I love videography, but it's not my main gig. So I just built out like all these packages that were all of the skills that I have. So what advice would you give someone wanting to pursue a career in videography then?
There's a lot of factors, right? Is this someone who has gear, or is just thinking about it, hasn't never made a video?
Just advice you give someone wanting to pursue a career, just thinking about it.
Man,
or what? Let's switch the question. What advice would you give yourself when you first started your career in videography?
Just be less afraid to fail.
Ooh.
It's hard to say because I just feel like it's a process and everyone has their own learning process. And how I went about things is maybe not the way, and I have other, filmmaker friends, same age as me, building up the same time as me, and their path is different than mine. You know what I mean? So it's just about trusting the process. And that's what I would say. And in any entrepreneurial venture, you gotta trust the process, or else you gotta be able to navigate in a complex minefield.
Yeah. And that's good advice though. Like trust, because seriously, there's so much that's going to happen and there's so many different paths you could take. As a videographer myself, like you literally could do anything. You can start with any amount of equipment, small equipment, big equipment. You can start shooting anything. You can start using free programs, paid programs. Like it's honestly so vast, but trusting the process is give yourself some grace to learn. Like give yourself, don't be hard on yourself, because you're learning a totally new thing. It's technology and it changes all the time, which is also kind of fun for us, but
you're never going to stop learning.
No. Right? I feel like as soon as I get one thing, it's like, hey, have you heard of this new program? Like we were just discussing before the podcast. I'm like, just as soon as I get all these apps, I'm like, hey, I have them in my sequence, how I like to use them. Boom, Clubhouse appears. And I'm like, what is this? And now all the big entrepreneurs, like scaled up, I would say, from me, are on Clubhouse. So obviously that's where I want to be now. So I don't know. It's hard to keep up. It's really hard to keep up. So that brings me to my next question. What would be the best resources that have helped you on the way, whether it be people or things?
YouTube.
Love it.
Google.
Yes.
But you know what? It's kind of like, so there's two facets to it, okay? First is the theoretical, okay? You have to study, okay? You gotta know at least like the theory behind what you're doing and study up on that. And there's so many resources nowadays. And I tend to find the best ones are free. You don't need to pay for any resources, okay?
Facts.
Usually when you do, it's not gonna be you can find out anything you want free, okay? Especially filmmaking, because that has been growing with the advent of the internet.
Yes.
Okay. There's been filmmaking channels that have been going on since I was a kid, that have been growing, and these aren't like channels teaching you the rinky-dink ways to do it. No, these are professional people.
Yeah.
And so you can find everything online, but after you do that and you do your research, you have to actually practice it on the real world and see how it all translates for you.
Yeah, market test.
Yeah, because it's like reading a book on learning how to swim. It's.
I like that analogy a lot. I might adopt that. Yeah. I mean, you could read it all day, but you're not going to be learning how to swim unless you jump in the water. That is such a good analogy. I love analogies. Oh man.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I would use this analogy just for entrepreneurship in general.
Yeah, totally.
Because what I want to do, I want to make feature films, right? So back in the days, you have to, be a PA and work your way up, and I don't know, the old way to do it. Nowadays, you gotta run your own business. You gotta make your own way. You gotta forge your own path, your own reputation. No one's just gonna hand you a big producer role, big director role, especially if you don't know how to handle money.
Yeah.
And how to budget. And it all starts at a micro level and then you build it up.
Yeah, for sure. So we talked a bit about some challenges with the pandemic, but the pandemic aside, what do you think your biggest challenge is right now? And how are you going to overcome it?
Right now, I would say it's almost like growing pains.
Ooh.
It's not necessarily a bad thing, but you got to be able to adapt fast and grow fast. And that's what I'm having to do.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, make sure I'm keeping up with the times and I'm updating it. Like, that's the thing. I'm updating my services. I'm providing more services for people. I'm just overall expanding what I can do and provide. And yeah, that is very difficult. That requires a lot of new learning for sure.
Yeah.
And more testing. And it's like
in time.
You go back to some of the basics with certain things, and it's uncharted territory. But that's what I wanted to do this year. That was my goal for this year, is just like to do everything I'm kind of afraid of. So I wanted to do this vlog because I'm like, okay, I need to be on camera. Okay, I'm not getting on camera enough. I need to do this podcast thing. I need to be able to like talk on camera and have guests on and do this stuff that I like, that you resist, because usually it's the stuff that you resist that you actually need to push towards, and embracing that. Embrace like being uncomfortable. And
Nice.
It's one of the best times to just go all in.
I love it. So yeah, your biggest challenge is growing pains, and how you're gonna just overcome it by just bossing through.
Yeah, bossing through
it. I mean, it's what you wanted to do anyways, right? And so yeah, what things do you do to keep yourself sane when you're doing growth with business? Because I've done it many times. It's exhausting. What do you do? Like, do you have special things during the day, special routines, meditation? What?
Well, meditation, I mean, like, I do a lot of like passive meditation. I don't need to like sit down and like cross my legs and always kind of reflecting on things. So, and really the key is to just take it a day at a time, because everyone has like the same amount of time. Okay.
Yes.
Jeff Bezos has the same amount of time, actually less time than I got. Okay. So
yeah, because he's older.
we all get 24 hours in a day. It's how we use it. So, and so you can only do that much. You only have that energy for the day. So you get as much as you can done for that day. You stop, you look around, you recoup, you reevaluate, you like meditate, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you go at it the next day and you keep going. That's it.
You just
rinse and repeat.
Are you sure you don't want to start meditating like this in that blue blanket though? Because it looks pretty zen.
It is.
You're like, I don't do that. I'm like, but it looks pretty comfy.
Right. I've gone back into reading, and I'm just like, I'm just wrapping myself up like this. And
which book are you reading right now?
Different.
Cool. What's it about?
It is about focal thinking.
Ooh.
Pretty much how to tackle complex conflicts.
Interesting. Different.
Yes, fight different.
I'm gonna get that maybe.
And it's actually by my good friend Mark Szabo, who's gonna be a guest on my podcast.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he recently gave me the book and I've been loving it.
I love it. Oh,
yeah, and it's nice to get back into reading. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. You reminded me I need to read today. I haven't for weeks.
Yeah, I haven't for like, I haven't in a year. Haven't read a book.
Right. So I know you've been working on your setup. That mic you have looks so cool. Do you have your dream setup right now, or is there a dream piece of equipment that you would like to own? If so, what is it?
Right now, like I was saying, the day-to-day thing, I literally gotta take it like, oh, he's saying my capture card. Yes, that is the next piece, and the switch after that. But it's just like taking it a step at a time. Like I
So he's not dreaming about the next big equipment.
I'm not dreaming about it because I'm just gonna buy it. Okay.
I love it. Hey,
I'm done the dreaming part. Okay.
I'm just drones. I'm
doing. That is gonna be. I am gonna buy a drone, but I'm not currently working with a drone. But the last project I worked on last year, I did have a drone pilot, and he was like managing some really cool drones because he did drone work for like oil and gas companies. So he had some big drones. So yeah, that really inspired me, and I am definitely going to get into that this year.
Nice. Yeah, 100%. I want to do drone 100%. Work as well. What do you think is a common myth people have about your profession?
That's easy.
Yes, I love that. I honestly love that because again, I am not at the scale he is because my videography, I just do a very like small amount, right? You know, like I think a lot of people go into it being like, yeah, I can totally do this. But after you're starting to learn to edit and then you're doing transitions and you're starting to, you know, like there's just, and then you want proper audio in there. And just as Jose was saying, like you need to have so many skills to actually put it together in a nice package. So
yeah. And there's levels. There's just levels to this.
Yes, there's levels to everything, I think. But there's levels to this. I'm not gonna lie, like guys, like I got really lucky when I started, and I literally filmed a full music video on my Huawei, which somehow worked out really well. However, filming on a DSLR, right? That's what they're called. Mm-hmm. Then I don't have to do so much adding depth of field after, right? Because then you can get your more professional shots right ahead of time. So even then, right, I was able to do what I need to do with that equipment. But I mean, it's outdated now. That was 3 years ago. What I was using 3 years ago is not good for now. It does not have the same quality. But anyways, yeah, it's just like you can do it so many different ways. But then again, the levels, and they go up fast, in my opinion. Like you'll do a couple videos and then you'll be like, I want it better, because you notice the differences in the details of what makes it better, right? So yeah, and then you start watching people like Jose and you're like, dang, I'm not even doing it anymore. And I'm just going to hire Jose as a contractor, which is what I did. So we just work with his company because, again, that's something that I will say, work smarter, not harder. I am not a pro videographer. I never claimed to be. I love doing it. And it very much got me in the door of the tech industry extremely fast. My third gig was with Jesse from Big Brother, which was so cool. So like, but again, that's not just my videography skills. I'm an amazing salesperson. I want to know, what is the biggest lesson you learned in the past year?
Biggest lesson, be resourceful. Find ways you can still do your thing when other people can't. Always can.
That's the lesson you learned last year?
Yeah, resourcefulness. Gotta be tenacious. I learned a lot of lessons last year. It wasn't like I learned one lesson.
What was your favorite one? Like, what do you think, like, the biggest piece of knowledge you took out of this past year?
Just that I'm on the right path.
Yeah.
I just felt like, well, it kind of happened and like validated a lot of what I've been thinking for a long time. And the way the world is going. And kind of what my work means and the value it has. So
that's a good lesson to learn though too. Like, just keep, like, you did a really good job this year. Like, watching him just keep produce content, it didn't even seem like you were in a pandemic. Like,
exactly,
it didn't stop. He just kept going, if not harder, through most of it. And like, I mean, that's why I wanted to have him on the podcast, because watching him just have the mindset that I kind of had. We're trapped at home now. We're stuck here. Why not work on all of the things that we were being distracted from by going out, by going to restaurants? You literally were forced to like have self-growth. Oof. I'm gonna have to edit that one out. But anyways, yeah. And so, yeah, that's great. That's super great.
Yeah. You were either going to grow from the situation or you were going to not. The opposite. Yes. So
I do feel like it did kind of go one of two ways. Like, people either were like, just became, you know, they weren't used to it. They very much thrived on the social scene. And I think it took a lot of masks off for people. Like, a lot of like people aren't doing so well that were, you know, maybe relying on that social aspect
and
to keep up.
And I feel a lot of people also showed their true colors.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I was trying to say. Yeah, without saying it. So I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
But what happened? It's what happened. A lot of masks fell off and a lot of people came their true selves because they didn't have these social constructs to like hide behind. It was like, you have to just be yourself because you're at home alone now. What else can you do?
And you're just pushed to your limit in a way, you know.
Like every way, I feel like. So many ways, like financially, emotionally, physically, by means like all the gyms are still closed here. So, and yeah, just pushed to every limit possible. Like this year's been crazy. My birthday's tomorrow and I'm like 32. Can we just pretend that didn't happen?
Happy birthday. Are we both Aquarius?
Yeah. When was your birthday?
My birthday is on Monday.
What? Heck yeah. I didn't know you're an Aquarius. That's so fun.
February babies.
I don't know that many. Honestly, I don't. So what person / people have been the most influential for you throughout this videography journey?
I don't know if I could just say one person. And it's not like I ever had like, I would say like a mentor per se. But everyone I've encountered along the way has taught me a lesson in some form. It was either in a positive way or a negative way. And it's just how you choose to take it. So yeah, I had just a lot of relationships coming up, and I just took a little something from each one.
Oh, I like it. Yeah. I like that. Yeah. So it wasn't anybody specific, just kind of everybody. Ooh, I really like that answer.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's talk about communication, considering this podcast is about positivity, communication, and entrepreneurship. I like my podcast voice. Okay. I didn't know I had one. So anyways, let's talk communication. How would you describe good and effective communication?
Yeah, this is a tricky one. And it's funny because this is what the book I've been reading, what it's about. So it's made me rethink a lot of stuff. But really, it should, good communication should lead to creative conflict or constructive conflict instead of destructive. So it should, if you communicate well with people, you both should be able to benefit.
Yes.
Come out good from the situation. If one person comes out unhappy from the interaction, that was a destructive conflict. And
sorry, just for people who can't hear clearly on the TikTok, I want to reiterate what he just said, because he said constructive conflict versus destructive conflict, right? So I love this theory. I've never heard this before. Like, I mean, it makes sense, but like putting proper words to it, right? So if you're having a conflict with two people and one person is leaving unhappy, then that is destructive conflict. If you are able to resolve it and both people are satisfied with the outcome, that's constructive conflict. Wow.
If you're able to grow from it. And so, and it's also looking at people that are part of these conflicts as participants, not as opponents.
Ooh.
Or rivals. And I feel like that's what everyone is doing nowadays. Everything is politicized. And I know this is the queen of positivity, but we got to get real for a second.
We can.
Everything is
podcast.
Yeah, but it's people politicize things, and it's like it's you against me, and it's me against you, and if you believe this thing, then you're POS or.
Okay, so I have another question about communication. Do you think the internet and social media has caused a change in the way we communicate, even through the internet and personally? And if so, how?
Yes, 100%. It has changed the way we communicate because it has let us communicate with each other without face-to-face interaction. Let us put out our emotions in our daily lives, broadcast it out to the world, market our own businesses, and for no money. Okay, you can market your business for free. Online, it's just open a whole way. And also online, there's also, anonymity. Okay.
I'm glad you brought that up.
right?
Because I feel like I am streaming this on TikTok as well, and that a lot of those trolls use that as a cover to harass people. But my
Yes.
podcast is about positivity and communication. So we deal with shadow work and we actually unpack the trolls. So like if they come, we try and figure out what deep down wound is causing them to act the way they do. So they just don't come to my room anymore. But yeah, I do agree with the anonymity thing. Yeah.
So it just makes everything more accessible to people. People are just, it's easier for even those trolls, you know, to get that out.
Okay, next question I have for you. What is one thing you had wish you had known before you began your career?
Man, sales, business. But you know what? I'm glad because, I mean, I actually started picking up on that pretty much straight out of high school. I got a sales job. So I picked that up pretty early, but I knew even before then what I wanted to do. But it was just something sales and business is just something I had no idea about.
When did you know you wanted to do videography? And like, I know your main goal is feature film. So when did you know you wanted to do
like maybe like 11, 12 years old.
Oh, love that.
Yeah.
Yes. Because honestly, that's usually one of my questions is, well, I mean, you might have started a different business, but what is the business you started as a kid? Because I haven't met an entrepreneur.
Okay. I actually do have a story about that because it wasn't like I just made videos right away, but I just remember like the most like far back memory I have of doing anything like this was like when I was a little kid in Colombia, and I think I was just going around like knocking on my neighbors' doors and like asking them to be part of my club. And then just like with a piece of paper and like a pencil or crayon or whatever the hell I had at that moment, I just wanted to create a club. I feel like that was like the original thing that I even wanted to do, right?
No, that's seriously, all entrepreneurs did something businessy when they were kids. And it's always such a crazy, wild story. Like, it's just like, they're interesting because kids have such an imagination. So like the fact that you had the audacity as a kid to go around with a piece of paper and make your own club.
And I think it's just because I was watching like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse or something like that. And I just wanted to be like, have my own clubhouse. Yeah, it is working out for me actually.
You still have the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse?
No, I'm making my own Mickey Mouse Clubhouse right now.
There you go. So see, this idea has carried on.
Yes. And then I remember making like my first video. I recorded that like on my laptop. I didn't have a camera. So I used like the front-facing camera of my laptop and just recorded, little skits.
Were they on YouTube?
Oh no, that was so long ago. And I would never share any of that nowadays. I don't even know where it is, where it ended up.
Honestly, that's something you got to find. You're going to want to see that later and be like, look what I did.
I have some of my high school projects and that's enough for me.
I didn't know that you wanted to be a videographer for so long. Like, that's a long time. This is a huge goal for you. So
yeah. And that's why I've really had like no doubt in my mind when I've been pushing this. Like I either see it, I either make it or break it. Especially at this point, like I'm not trying to look back.
You're gonna make it.
I'm gonna push forward, right? So, I feel like these times I've defined a lot of people, and it's been a great kick in the butt. And yeah, who knows if I would have been as motivated or if this wasn't the case.
It's definitely nice having like a childhood motivation. Like, I refuse not to be an entrepreneur at this point, right? Like,
yes.
One more question. Well, I guess kind of wrap up questions after that, but one more main question. If you could step into my shoes, what would you have asked yourself that I did not?
You covered the basis.
Oh, as an Aquarius, I like to hear that.
Hey.
I did a good job. Is there anything that you want to talk about so let's flip it a little bit. Is there anything you want to talk about that in regards to like anything to help people get through these times, anything to do with videography, like closing out statements from Jose?
Well, in general, I would say don't take anyone's word as gospel and figure out life by your own means, because something that's always brought me down in the past is just not trusting my own gut. And just trusting other people just because they're maybe older or they just have something that I don't at that moment. But, you realize as you mature that you can trust your instincts and you can be right about things. And really results may vary on everything. So you got to try your own thing and see what works for you and find your edge and find your way to win. So.
Yeah, hey, that's really good advice. Honestly, it really is. Trust your gut. We talk about on the podcast. I mean, we have different sorts of guests, right? So trusting your intuition and just raising your vibration to be your highest self. This is a very common theme, but trusting your intuition is huge. I've gone against it so many times. It's always been at my detriment every time. I feel like your gut feeling is like your future self coming back to tell you like, that's not going to work out. Maybe make a different choice, but it's up to you what you do with it, right? So
yeah.
How can our listeners support you currently? Social media pages, what are you working on? How would you like some extra support? I do put your information on my website, actually goes in a couple of places. So where would you like people to reach you if they want to talk or see your videos?
Yeah, Instagram or Facebook at NoWayJose Productions. I'm also on LinkedIn if you want to reach out to me there.
Cool.
Jose Lacera. And
yeah, I will. I'll hook all those links. So sorry, say it again. It was LinkedIn. I know you have an Instagram, great Instagram page.
Yeah, it's growing.
Yeah. And the content is really good. The content is really good. Like what is your Instagram handle?
At NoWayJose Productions.
So NoWayJose Productions. So on Instagram. So if you want to see his videos, like the ice, I know you said ice fishing isn't your thing, but even videography is though, awesome. Right? And how you the colors in it. And like, it's honestly, they're all so gorgeous. I love watching them. I'm like, I wish I was there. That's what I think when I watch them is I wish I was there.
And that's the goal of it, right?
Exactly.
That's the goal.
Yes.
And being able to do that with anything.
Yes, exactly. And he can do it with anything. Like, oh man. And I just watch him progress in every video. My attention to detail is like insane. So it's like, I just watch you change these tiny things and all of a sudden it's so cinematic now, even within like the past year, like it's always been really, really good. But yeah, even within the past year, it's like become tenfold flipped better so your mindset on just being, I'm shut in, so I'm going to work hard is really paying off for you.
Hey man, my motto with this business is Kaizen. And Kaizen's continuous improvement.
I just punched the air. I don't know if you see it, but not a lot of people know about Kaizen. Not a lot of people know about it, honestly. And it is seriously the best way to not only get through life, but tough situations, right? Just become a little bit better than you were the day before. Always working, always
exactly. Growing. And so with each project, and you can see it's on my bio of something I've had for ages, but it's just like looking at the last project. Okay, how can I improve on it? And there's a balance because I think a lot of people get kind of like stuck and they don't want to put a thing out. They just want it to be perfect. And I've completely blasted through that wall. And like, I'm just at the point where like, okay, I need to just put it out. Like,
what do you say to yourself? What do you say to yourself when you're like, because I think that's a really good thing to bring up actually is like when people are scared to put out their content, what is your mental mind saying to yourself when you're going to put it out? Just put it out or?
I need to move on.
Oh, I need to.
If I keep on working on this, how am I going to move on to the next project and make that better?
Yes.
Like eventually you just reach a cap. You got the footage that you got. Okay. It's not, you have a time to work on it. Sometimes you don't get more time.
Yeah. So true.
Once you export it and you watch it 10 more times, and sometimes you need fresh eyes. Sometimes you need to sleep on it, whatever. And then you're always going to pick something up. And then you just take notes. And then next time you just approach it in a slightly different way. But it's key to figure out what works. Because you can't just remake your formula every time.
No.
You got to figure out what works and then add the little things to make it improving, just nudge it forward every time.
Kaizen.
So, yeah, Kaizen. And it is you can apply to anything in life.
Yeah, 100%. Yes, you can apply it to anything. And that's why I love it. And like, how old is this? What is it, a practice or a theory? How old do you think it is? Like,
It's just like a Japanese philosophy.
so Japanese, it's probably hundreds of years old, if not thousands.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like they just have a lot of like culture that goes so far back. So yeah. And it's, oh man,
They just started implementing it into corporations. So when, Japan was rebuilding from World War II, the reason they were able to bounce back so fast is because they took, the way, Americans are making cars. Okay, how can we keep improving it every time and keep refining the process to save energy and save costs?
Yeah.
And these are the mentalities companies and a lot of Japanese people took on.
I feel like it's the opposite mentality of like, if it's not broken, don't fix it. I feel like Kaizen's the opposite, right? Because it's like, no, you can constantly improve everything all the time. I've always had this deep feeling that at 10 years, like whatever thing you stick with for that, like absolutely pops off. I've always said that to people. Honestly, that's not a new thing. So we'll see what happens for you.
I believe in that too. Like it's just there's a tipping point, right?
Yeah, there has to be. It's just inevitable. There is a tipping point. It's not like you're not just going to keep striving for a goal and it's never going to happen. Like, I mean, unless you keep moving the goal, but like you can get there if you consist.
Goals are flexible. And I read something recently that it's not about even people set goals instead of setting routines.
Ooh.
And I don't want to set, I'm not about like really New Year's resolutions and setting these goals. I do have, some goals. I have financial goals, things like that. But it's more about like, what are you doing every day that's going to make an impact on your business?
Yeah.
And I feel like you don't even need to do that much. You can do one big action that like fucking crushes it and fucking go take a nap for the whole day. It doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's what I do. I'm just saving up my energy all day. I know I'm going to make one phone call and that's going to pay my bills. And I'm good. People don't think it's that simple, but like
it is that simple.
It is that simple. You can do with whatever you want with that time in the day, right? If you know that you haven't made with one phone call, like you get your rest time. Hey, and that's the thing, man. I don't know what people think is like achievable, but I know if you're a beast and you have leads, you can be on the phone and crank out 100 phone calls and make $10,000 that day.
You can,
if you know what you're doing.
Yep.
And you have leads and you have a service that people want.
Yep.
It's not rocket science. It's literally how many people you're hitting, how many of them are going to follow you back, how many of them are you pitching, and how many of them are you closing. And it usually boils down, if you're doing everything right, 10%.
Yeah.
You pitch 100 people, you close 10 for $1,000 each. Boom, you made $10,000 in one day.
Boom. But it's a lot of work.
Right? That's oversimplifying it, of course.
Yeah.
But KISS, keep it simple, stupid.
I like that. How did I not know that that's acronym spelled KISS? I'm learning so much today. All right.
And it's just because I've just been around the entrepreneur stuff for so long now. Yeah. I just know all the stereotypical sayings.
All those acronyms.
And, all the acronyms. All the motivational
I love it. It's like eventually when you're immersed in the entrepreneurial world so much, you're like a walking, talking like entrepreneur meme or something. Like you just have all of those the analogies and everything. It's so good. It's great though. It gets the point across and people can relate to it. And so that is going to about wrap us up for Jose of NoWayJose Productions, videographer extraordinaire. Seriously. Go find him on Instagram, NoWayJose Productions. And I will be posting links on the Fierce Fire Design website. So for the TikTok people, the link is in my bio. For everybody else, you can also find the podcast at kendrafierce.com. I just want to share messages of positivity. And I know that my network is just full of such amazing, bold, beautiful souls that did not let this pandemic crush them. And I am just so proud of all of them. And especially you, Jose, watching you pump out those videos, it literally didn't seem like he stopped working. And that's why I wanted to have him on the podcast because again, I have it on my vision board, positive audacity. And I love that. Yeah. And I just feel like that's what you have. You are full of positive audacity. So thank you so much for speaking with me today. And thank you for letting us stream this on TikTok. And if we're streaming on Facebook still, hi, nice to see you. Hopefully I wasn't too weird. But then again, I don't really care. Also, thank you so much for all your amazing insight. We have lots of people, lots of different listeners all over the world. And I guarantee that the information you shared is going to be extremely helpful for a lot of people that are looking to get into this very lucrative career. I'm not going to lie, guys. It is very lucrative once you know what you're doing. Extremely lucrative. Like, I mean, like you're making thousands of dollars easy in a week sometimes. Sometimes you can make that in a shoot, to be honest. So it just depends on who you're shooting for and for what and where they're going to use it and the stuff that you have set up afterwards. Because like not only could you do the shoot, right? You can offer, oh man, there's so many other things. Anyways, that's like a whole nother podcast. All right. Thank you so much for listening to the Queen of Positivity podcast. And you can catch us again next Tuesday, where I'll be recording live on Tuesday, and then it'll be downloaded on Apple and Spotify for Wednesday for your listening pleasure. Thanks for joining us, everybody. That wraps up the Queen of Positivity podcast for today. Make sure you check us out again next week, Tuesday, for more information regarding communication, positivity, and entrepreneurship. Thank you again for joining us. Bye.